Hey traders, Richard K from Price Action and Income. And I hope you're all keeping safe during these times. I know it's quite troubling times, scary times. Wherever you are at, myself, we're still in lockdown at the moment. We still have 2 weeks to go before we'll hopefully have some restrictions on our movement relieved or relaxed a little bit. But either way, just to help you relieve some of the boredom wherever you are, I hope that you'll enjoy today's video. And the topic of today's video would be the occurrence of expanded triangles, which is a pattern formation that I would say is similar to that of a contracting symmetrical triangle or a descending or ascending triangle. You all know that a symmetrical triangle would look something like this. Obviously, if this is a downtrend, I'm going to actually be talking a little bit about the Euro-CAD. It's actually a trade that we've taken with our members in the EBS forecasting service. But just like show you an actual trade, I want to discuss this formation because it typically leads to extreme volatility, which is pretty fitting to see these patterns actually pop up in a lot of currencies and even the indices, I believe, even in gold, as I'll show you guys later. And like I said, it will be quite fitting for these patterns to show up during volatile times that we are currently in. Just to discuss the pattern quickly, let's first look at what a normal triangle would look like, and just let's use this perfect symmetrical triangle. Let me just get my labeling tool out here quickly. And as you all know, if we're dealing with a downtrend, you'll have an opposite move to where the downtrend ends. Temporarily, you'll get an A, B, C, D, E. So that is what a normal triangle would be labeled as if you used a little bit of Elliott wave theory, etc., etc. But this was a beautiful triangle that happened, an expanding triangle. And as you'll see that both volatility when the 1E wave ended and when it actually ended this move in both directions, price just went crazy. It dropped from the end of this triangle, and once this triangle ended, price shot up crazily to the upside. I don't know, one of my previous videos, if you guys might have noted that I do believe the theory, not many people suggest this, but I do know in Elliott wave theory, they do suggest that triangles are terminal in nature, meaning that they do tend to appear as the last correction before a change in trend. And as you'll see, prior to this low we had here in February, price was mucking about for a while, and then it made this important low. And what did we see? We see seen a triangle formation, sorry. In this case, an expanding, very volatile formation before this low and before price shot upwards. Just to give you a quick update of, we started following this pattern, I believe it was here in January, early January, with my EPS forecast members. And we identified a zone where we thought price might reverse from. I even noted that before price got there that we have to be careful because these expanding triangles tend to overshoot areas of market geometry, and there's quite often a better idea to wait for an actual reversal than take a trade. I think we only entered around about here after price started moving lower. We had this little small head and shoulders formation on top there, and we got in here somewhere. And price just dropped straight down, reaching two targets which were quite big to the downside with no issues along the way. It was a fantastic trade to start the year off. But either way, and as I'll show you later, I'm also seeing some of these patterns forming right now in different markets. Maybe I'll be looking at charts too much, but when you do spot these patterns, they really looks like they are popping up everywhere at the moment. But let's just quickly talk about this trade. We had price moving down into a low, and obviously when you're dealing with a downwards trend, you want to start counting or labeling your waves. In this case, it will be 5 waves that's part of a expanding triangle in this case. So we'll have an A. I think this was a B. This could have been a B as well. We had a C wave. We had a D wave and an E wave, and you'll see, although this lower angle was quite flatter an angle and not as steep as this upper one, you'll see that if you drew a line or trend line from this low and connected to this low, it gave you that low there as well. Price, even when it broke down, retested that line and it went lower. You'll quite often find that you can, in some cases, it's very rare, get expanding triangles that look like this. With your low support line, in this case obviously dealing with a bearish triangle, expanding triangle, that your lower line would be slightly more angled. But anyway, we managed to identify the pattern. You'll see that every single wave starts expanding, and this is why it's called expanding triangles. Rather than it contracting towards an end, it's expanding toward the end. And one way that's really cool when you work with these triangles is to use a channel and run it horizontally, 100% horizontally from where you think your A wave was until your B wave. And you'll quite often find that if you copy and paste and add these lines and extend them upwards, you'll see that although this wasn't the E wave, we had one move up. What do you believe if you have one move up? That you'll get a correction before another move up. And in this case, it ended, yes, at this upper channel line. Even if you entered here with proper management, you probably would have made money. But it's quite cool to see how when these expanding triangles expand, how they tend to expand in double ups or triple ups of an actual channel. And you'll see here that price did overshoot the upper side of that channel. But in either way, it kind of really got close to the upside. We thought it was going to end around here by the upper trend line. It didn't. It's quite often a good idea just to wait for a reversal and then attempt an entry afterwards. So guys, that's just a quick rundown of a trade we did. Not so much showing you how cool the trade was, but just showing the behavior of these patterns, how they tend to expand and how I'm seeing them all over the show now when I'm going to show you the next examples. But in this example, yet again, terminal patterns, these triangles are terminal patterns. They tend to appear at the end of moves and they can be quite volatile and they offer good trading opportunities if you're patient enough to wait for a reversal, like in this case, price overshot the area we're looking at, but it went straight down. They can be fast moving markets, and if you're on the right hand side of this market or right side of these markets, they can be great trades to take. All right, let's move on to, before I finish off this video, here's another pattern I'm actually thinking that I'm seeing in gold at the moment. And since we are dealing with volatile times, I actually want to go back to a monthly time frame to show you all these market geometry lines that I drew in here. So just bear with me before I open that chart. I've actually only got data stretching back to 1975 on TradingView. In this case, I'm using the gold futures continuous contract. And what I'm seeing here is some pretty cool market geometry. I just want to take this one away quickly. So if you see that, if you use this low in September, I think it was, yeah, August, September 76 up to this high in January 2080 and bring it back all the way to September 99, just prior to the year 2000. And sorry guys, I got that on the wrong setting. Actually, I want to use this low here because I've been testing a few different lows, and you'll see that price reached this upper median line and came down. That was that all-time high that we've had. And rather not than going into actual bias of my direction at the moment, I do think gold can still go high, but I do also think, and this is when we're going to come back to the expanding triangle formation, that we are approaching a upside of expanding triangle with a long-term market geometry using this, because I think this was an A, and then A, B, C, D, E. That's why I'm using this low here. Thus far, it supported price at the center median line here. It reacted from the upper median line. Price almost touched this upper red warning line, and I think that's where it's heading to right now. It might pip it, might go a little bit higher. I don't know if you remember from my previous video, we had a pretty important time cycle on a weekly time frame running in here, which turned price down sharply to the downside. Now, obviously, with this behavior of price going up and down, up and down, up and down in very large ranges, especially in a market like gold, then it's starting to make me think as well that we are dealing with an expanding triangle in gold. But since we are going up in gold, um, I do think that this triangle, you'll start counting downwards. We might have add an A. Let me just get my market geometry or my labeling tool out again. I think this expanding triangle, similar to that Euro-CAD trade it looked like before, this was obviously corrective. I think that we are seeing an A, B, massive move down that moves straight away back to the upside, a D perhaps, followed by, ooh, where's my E gone now? Let me just label that again, guys. Sorry for that little hiccup there. We've got an A, probably a B, a C, a D, an E. Guys, I might be completely wrong about this, but when you do see these moves that seemingly go one way, you get this V top coming down, you get this V top bottom going up again, then you probably got a high probability that you are dealing with some sort of triangle. I still think gold can go much higher, especially in these uncertain times with the markets. But if I am correct, then we might pip these highs, go as high as the 1740, 1750 range. Who knows, maybe even overshoot that sort of range. Then come down on an E before we see a much larger move to the upside, which could maybe even take us up to new highs. So I do think we are dealing with some sort of expanding triangle here. It's just my opinion again, guys, not trading advice, but this kind of behavior that we are seeing at the moment definitely does resonate with an expanding triangle. And then lastly, I want to look at the ES, the S&P 500, and I've been doing some market geometry on here as well. And if we use this low back in October 2002, we expand that to this high before we had this financial crisis that started in 2007 and ended here in 2009. That's a 2-year crisis, recession that we had. I remember we had the housing collapse during this sort of session, and we run a standard pitchfork to the upside and then double up. You see, price overshot this upper red warning line. Let me just get rid of that one for right now. Price overshot this upper red warning line, but if you would use another channel parallel to your upper and your upper red and you extend it upwards, then look at what happened when price reached this upper red doubled up red channel line for the second time around. It collapsed lower. Obviously, there are global influences like the pandemic we're experiencing at the moment, and I still think some underlying financial issues has just not been exploited yet. That all accumulated at the top of this market geometry right over there. And if you look back at this green standard pitchfork that I drew from this low back in 2009 to the first peak and back to this low in October 11, then price also reached the upper green channel line, in this case of a different colored pitchfork, a standard pitchfork. And where they both crossed, that long-term upper red warning line that I doubled up, and this also long-term from the 2009 low, upward sloping green standard pitchfork where they all met each other, price collapsed lower. Now price already overshot this sort of area here, which was the upper median line of this blue pitchfork. It kind of halted price a little bit, and we are now bouncing higher. I don't think this move downward is actually ended yet, and this is where I want to offer a little bit of my opinion, what I'm thinking is happening. Because we are talking about expanding triangles, I do actually think that We might even be seeing one here in the S&P 500. It's maybe too early to tell, but yet again, guys, if we look at what preceded this move to the downside, let me just get rid of all my drawings. Then what does this look like? Yes, we overshot that area there. And either there we stop now, or price could still go lower. This whole formation here, to me, looks like a triangle. And one of the reasons why I'm saying this, and again, guys, I might be wrong, is what was this here? It certainly does not look like a 5 wave that you'd expect to end a trend. This to me looks a lot like some sort of an ABC move. Prior to that, we had an ABC move. Prior to that, we had an ABC move. So if we're dealing with an upward sort of sloping trend, maybe we've seen that's this far. Again, guys, just pure speculation. Maybe this was our high. Then we had an A. B, we might be dealing with a C, D, E. Or we have an A, B, C, D, which is actually what I'm thinking is going on. So this triangle might as well have started from, if this is a triangle, guys, just my 2 cents worth, my opinion, then we are still in for another decline, in my opinion, especially if you look at market structure. Let me just get my triangle wave tool out here. So this, in my opinion, could have been a strong high, and the origin of what I'm thinking is expanding triangle. So we could have had an A, we could have had a B, we could have had a C, we could have had a D, and we might still be coming down in an E. And what makes me think that, obviously, apart from the expanding nature of what's happening here, is that we, even on the weekly chart, we have moves of threes. So your inner moves, and that was probably your A wave over there. We have some sort of A, B, C flat there. We had a B, C, D, E. Is that these things happen in waves. And now we just had a straight drop lower. So we might very well be seeing something like this. Let me just draw that in. A, B, C. And wherever this ends, we'll have to see. We might very well be seeing a bounce higher. I know there's a lot of people preaching that this might be the low. I certainly don't think so, and a lot of people do agree with me on that. Things probably get worse before it gets better. But in a bigger scheme of things, I think we still have downside potential. And not that I'm 100% sure. You can never be 100% sure about a pattern in charts or forecasts, these sort of things. But there certainly is, in my opinion, some sort of explanation of what has been happening here since this volatility started happening here in 2018 and in 2019. I do think that we might have an E wave coming. I know a lot of guys got some opinion that we might have an A, B, C, and then some sort of expanding flat going down. Either interpretations show that we can still go down. So guys, that was just a quick explanation of the expanding triangle. My view that I'm seeing this pattern all over the show, which would be quite fitting. In different markets, I'm seeing this pattern because of the volatility and uncertain times that we're living in currently. So it could just be fitting that we might even be seeing this in the ES, and I do not think it's over yet, so we might still see some downside. So please, guys, just be safe if you are trading at this time. I hope you're keeping safe with your health-wise and keeping fit and keeping yourself occupied more than anything else at home or wherever you might be. But anyway, guys, that's just my opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video, learned something about the expanding triangle. Maybe see if you can go spot them on your charts. If you do have any expanding triangles you think might be happening in one of your favorite markets, then please share that in the comments section below, and I'll be happy to look at it. And if you haven't done so before, guys, then please hit the subscribe button and then also the bell button, and you'll be alerted whenever I make my next video. Right, guys, until next time, this is Richard K. Stay safe. Goodbye.